broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 51 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. We've got Trevor. We got Damon. As some of our listeners have started calling us, I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Facebook and on email, the Three Musketeers are back together.
Okay. Yeah,
I feel like we should make that more Disney. I feel like we should go like Three Caballeros or something, you know? But
yeah, I was thinking
who do I want to be, though?
One, but
Caballeros, who do you want to be, though?
I'd call Panchito.
Panchito's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to be Panchito. That would be fine.
Yeah.
Tom, who would you take then?
I don't know. Panchito's pretty cool.
Well, you can't have him. Trevor spoke first. So now who are you?
Well, I guess I'm Donald then, all right?
Okay.
And then you get Jose.
That's fine. I could be Jose. I'm good.
I like
Jose.
Donald's, man. Donald's one of my favorite. I feel like he's a very underrated character in some ways. But
Donald Duck?
yes. I feel like everyone talks, everyone loves Mickey, everyone loves Minnie, but like Donald, I feel like it's a little overlooked sometimes.
No, I think what happens is as you get a little bit older, he becomes less overlooked, right? I think
Because he's more relevant.
Yeah.
I guess maybe he's more relevant. So I have two things before we even get started, though.
Oh, okay.
So the first thing is that we just got back from Atlanta, and I went to the Center for Puppetry. What is it actually called? The Center for Puppetry Arts, something along those lines, Atlanta.
Oh.
Which was awesome. I got to see the Fraggles. I got to see Sprocket.
Wow.
Mean, how can you
What?
beat seeing Sprocket? I mean, that was awesome.
I'm jealous.
Yes, it was actually pretty cool. There also was a lot of other Jim Henson stuff, Kermit and all those guys as well. But the coolest part was there was a special exhibition for the Dark Crystal. Yeah.
You said the magic words.
Yes, especially since it's coming to Netflix, right? So it's very interesting to see the Dark Crystal stuff. And it was a phenomenal display. There was also some videos, which I'm sure are on the web somewhere as well, that they had playing. But to actually see those puppets in person and the amount of detail is unreal. I mean, you just can't, until you witness it in person. It was absolutely amazing. I had a great time. What actually was very funny is there was obviously a huge Dark Crystal fan there because he went up to again, everything was behind plexiglass, obviously, right? So he went up to one of, I think he had a couple of the characters tattooed, and he went up to each one and took his sleeves off and took a picture with the actual character and his tattoo, which was kind of neat. But it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that was very interesting to go see.
That is super exciting to me because honestly, Dark Crystal is like my favorite all-time movie, hands down. So,
and it was absolutely amazing to see some of those puppets. The amount of detail seeing them in person is just, like I said, it's a little bit awe-inspiring because and it's cool because they're obviously bigger than you think, right? They were. All the different characters. They're all larger than you would envision them. Seeing them in person, it was cool, and they had a lot of the characters. They had a lot. But again, I also love Sprocket, right? Because who doesn't love the Fraggles? That was awesome to see Sprocket as well.
Yeah,
it was a very, very fun little exhibition in Atlanta. And again, if you're there, it's worth seeing. I don't know how long the Dark Crystal will be there, but I know that they do have different things that come through there, and it was well worth it, I thought. The second thing is because I had a lot of time to look at our reviews on iTunes coming back, I was like, wow. Again, I guess...
Wait, you were looking at our reviews on iTunes?
I was, right? So I got to the one that, I guess, the one where we had talked about previously, where I don't know why I like you guys, I'm going to give you 1 star sort of thing, right?
Why they don't like us?
They like us, but they don't know why.
And so they gave us 1 star? Wait, I thought they didn't like us, but they didn't know why.
No, I like it, but I don't know why. And it gave us 1 star.
It's amazing.
Called me arrogant. And again, this is what I wanted to clear up. The word is opinionated that you were looking for.
That's true.
It's not arrogant. It's opinionated. But again, I looked through all of them, and I was a little disappointed because we're at 4.5 stars, and I was like, it sounded really good. And then I started looking at other people, like our buddy Chad, who's at 5 stars. Right now, I was a little jealous. So again, we need some help there. We need to at least bring us up to 4.75.
What are they complaining about? I'm gonna guess because the shows are too long sometimes.
No. we get none of those complaints. We get complaints about your laughter. We get complaints about my arrogance. We get complaints about Trevor sounding like he's in a tunnel. I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, those are the complaints that we ended up getting.
Trevor
so
sounds like he's in a tunnel. That's amazing.
Oh, and the other ones are that we know nothing about DVC. How can we even have a show about that? Obviously.
Oh, there was one of those. Okay,
there was one of those, and you know, we shouldn't have to look things up, and we should just know everything. You know, again, we're not arrogant. The people that are telling us we should know everything, though, they're not arrogant either, right?
How can you know everything? You just can't know everything.
I mean, I've tried that once, and it gave me a headache. So
I just thought it was funny. We do appreciate all the reviews, though, but I just found it a little humorous. And while I was searching through reviews, I realized that we do not come up for Disney Vacation Club. We do come up for DVC. We need to work on fixing that somehow.
Right. Yeah.
And I also came across a couple podcasts I'd never heard before, which was interesting, and I listened to some of them. So all was well. All was well.
Look at that.
There you go. Now
you didn't listen to the Welcome Home podcast.
No, I did not. I did not.
Please don't look that up, listeners. Just don't.
Yeah.
Now everybody's going to do it because I said not to. But
of course.
Yeah. So, anybody have anything else we want to get into before we?
No, I'm excited for all these emails that everyone sent us. I mean, that's...
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we always ask for emails from you guys, and like, whoa, you blew up our email box and our Facebook the past 2 weeks.
And
I mean,
I think it's awesome. I mean, I'm just blown away by how many people have responded to us, right? Like, it just going through it here, it's always humbling, I guess. It's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we never get any of those mean iTunes reviews in email, so you know,
no.
I want to see some of those. You know, if instead of leaving us a negative review, just shoot us an email and we'll try to be better before you leave us a better review.
I won't. Sorry.
There's that arrogance. There's that arrogance already coming out.
Yeah.
All right. So, who wants to do the first one here? I could do it if nobody else wants to.
Yeah, why don't you start and then we'll flip around.
We'll filter through here. So, Mike writes us, and Mike wrote a really, really long email, but he was nice enough to sum it up for us. And this isn't really a question. He just wants to see what we think of this strategy that he came up with. And I never thought about doing this, and I'm sure there are people that do this
a bunch of times.
Oh, have you really? See, okay. So recently he had a situation fall into his lap. He wanted to share it with us as we might find it interesting or think he's insane, as he says. He bought a triple point contract at Saratoga Springs at 150 points. So the points on the contract were 300, 150, 150, right? So he's got the 300 this use year, 150 next, 150 next, right? So by immediately renting out, he's immediately renting out 450 of the 600 points available on the contract. And basically by doing that is paying for about 40%. It's about 40% discount on the contract price. So then moving forward, he's going to take the income he receives from renting these points. He's only going to rent these points. And by renting the additional 150 points on the contract, it'll cover 70% of his annual dues on his other contracts, resulting in some big savings. The savings on annual dues each year will work out to having this contract fully paid for itself in 8 years. Love the show. Keep up the great work. I would have never thought to do this, but I think it's a brilliant scheme. Yeah.
See, again, I would agree. I've definitely thought about this, but there's something in me that just doesn't feel Disney about it, right? Like, I get it. Like, from a business standpoint, it is a smart move. But renting out points, I don't know how I feel about that in general, right? So it's tough for me. I won't want to comment any more than that. Again, like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just when I feel like I would do something like that, I couldn't bring myself to do it. That's me personally.
And I guess my only other thought on that is that, good on you, Mike, for doing this. It is an extra step that you have to manage, though, as part of your contracts, right? Like to make sure that you're renting them out and that you're getting the money that you want out of it. To me,
but isn't it pretty easy these days with the renting points people?
Well, I thought that my understanding with renting is that they tell you, somebody wants to rent your points and then you go and you have to do the booking, but it's like a one-time thing. So you don't have to keep changing it.
Yep.
But you still have to go and you have to kind of keep tabs on it. It's not, like a set it and forget it kind of thing, right? I guess for me, it's just an additional thing you have to do on top of everything else that you're doing, booking your own trips, is that you're booking these these rental points as well. So
but then in 8 years, I mean, he's going to be set. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Is, that this definitely is a smart way to get that initial cost out of the way, and then everything after that is basically free stays, right?
Well, you also you got to have the willpower, as he said on here, to not use those points, right? So because those are sitting there, and you're like, well, I could just do it one time, or you got to have that willpower there, or else you could be in trouble with that. But and he sent me a follow-up email too, sent us a follow-up email saying that the math only really works out if you can get a triple point contract, which is you can still do it with a double point, it's just not as good, obviously, but. And those triple point contracts aren't exactly the easiest to find. So,
well, it just takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I guess if you're talking about paying it out front, right up, I guess that's where it's a little bit easier to have the triple points right outside of that, right? Because you can just pay. Yeah. You can say, I can boom take a loan or however you want to pay, and then that money's back in your bank rather than waiting an extra 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, I think a very sound move on Mike's part. It sounds like it's going to benefit him well. So,
yeah, I thought it was a neat idea. I guess I just never thought about doing it that way. For me, I would just worry that the rental market would somehow dry up, even though it probably won't. I mean, from what I've seen, it seems like the rental companies are really looking a lot for points. So. It seems like they're in demand. So I doubt that would dry up. But I guess at the end of the day, even if that strategy doesn't work, he's still got all these points that he can use now. So
yeah, because Tom, right after Star Wars opens up, nobody's going to want to rent points.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. Everyone's gonna stay away from Disney after that.
No one will ever want to rent points for the next 5 years at least, I'm sure.
I can't wait to talk about the Star Wars thing because somebody commented on our Facebook. I'm listening to you guys right now talk about there's no way that that Star Wars is going to be open by like November. And
that was a surprise, I'll be honest.
Yeah. We'll talk about this later.
We'll
talk about this later. But I laughing when we're super wrong about stuff. It's the best.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, you guys want to do the next one? Thanks again, Mike, for writing in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll take this next one. So Lori wrote us. She said, "Hi, Trevor, Tom, and Damon." She put my name first, so that's important. I like that.
That's why
it
you
doesn't
took
matter.
It's reverse alphabetical order. That's all it is.
Exactly. My husband and I have been listening to your podcast since it first started, and we really love listening when we are between trips. And thank you so much. That means a lot to us that you guys have been with us for so long. We live in Colorado and have been DVC members since 2014, and our home resort is Alani. Last time we were at WDW was 2016, and we tend to be rope dropping, go, ride max itinerary types. However, our daughter is now a teenager and would prefer to sleep in a bit. Also, we'd really like to adopt a bit of a slower pace, even though we don't get out to the parks annually. She then goes on to ask, would you go through your overall structure of your days at WDW? Like what time you're up and out of the room? Do you eat breakfast at a restaurant or in your room? What time do you get to the parks? And do you stay in the park all day or come back to the resort for some pool time and a nap and then head back in? And then, she's got a lot of questions here. Are there any days that you save as break days when you don't go into the parks at all? So that's the first part, is really she's asking about how we do our scheduling. She then goes on to say, we are all fascinated by all the different ways that people set up their Disney days depending on their family size preferences and ages of those who attend. We would love to hear about how your families structure their days and possibly pick up some tricks and ideas for our next park trip. So I guess I'll start this one off because we just came back from a trip like about a month ago, and I'm already actually planning my next trip in November. So this stuff is, honestly, it's on my mind all the time. And so I think the first thing to understand about myself, or the way that I do my trips, I plan so that I can break those plans, is the first thing. So
they're flexible plans.
Yeah. So I do. I think I'm kind of similar. That I tend to have an itinerary. I tend to do all of my fast passes. But if we're talking about the way that I do a week, is we will go and we will have usually the first 3 or 4 days. So like if we arrive on say a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we tend to focus very heavily on going to the parks. So we'll do things like we'll do dessert parties those days. We try to do like Halloween or Christmas parties. We're actually looking at the Christmas party this year. We're going to try and do it early on in the week. And then we like to try and have a break by about like Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes even into Thursday, again, depending on how long we're actually there for. The idea, though, is that so those days usually end up being full days. We don't like to, again, depending on the park, like if we're staying near somewhere like Magic Kingdom, like we're at the Poly and we're close, we will come back and we will spend a couple hours in the afternoon at the hotel. But for the parks that are further away, because we're not bringing cars or anything, we don't like to, stop what we're doing and come back. And then, the commute time for us going back and forth doesn't seem valuable. It actually makes more sense to us to just have some downtime in the parks. So part of that is how we do our dining reservations. So we kind of use our dining reservations as a bit of downtime. So we'll either do like a lunch or dinner dining reservation with the intent that, we sit down, we have like a good hour and a half where you're not running from ride to ride. And then it's enough that it gets us into the evening. And then we also don't even necessarily go until the park closes. Like we kind of feel it out day by day, I guess. Like we see how we're feeling every day, but we're not really at the point where we say, we want to go back and have a nap in the afternoon. It's more, just that, having a break where you're not walking 20 kilometers or sorry, I don't know how many miles that is, but
I don't know how many. I don't know how many miles is that many kilometers. So I think we're in a good shape.
So however far that is, we don't. We kind of take our breaks in the park, and then as far as our down days go, we actually like to use the water parks as kind of a down day, because for us, we'll spend like 3-4 hours at a water park. We don't go there from like open to close, but we'll go there like first thing in the morning. We'll do all of our stuff, and then by the afternoon we'll come back and we'll spend the afternoon back at our hotel, and then we might go to a park in the evening. But again, it really depends on how we're feeling. So for us, it's always been like the first couple of days of our trip, we do a lot of stuff, and then we kind of taper off towards the end where we're not doing rope drop. We're not filling out our days as much as we can go. Like we will, actually a good example is on our last trip. It was the Thursday. I wasn't feeling great on the Thursday. It was raining. So, we actually decided, instead of going out, we actually ordered room service. So, we had plans of, we were going to go into the parks. We were going to go to Magic Kingdom and do all this stuff. And instead we said, you know what, we're just going to stay around the hotel. We stayed in the room. We brought our Nintendo Switch with us. So we actually played video games for the morning, because it was raining heavy enough that we didn't, even though we know the rain is not a big deal, we still just didn't want to go out in like that monsoon downpour.
Torrential rain. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I get it.
Yeah. So and again, by then we were far enough into the trip that we didn't feel bad about, I think kind of what Lori's concern is, that feeling of not getting your money's worth, I guess. But to us, we had already gotten our money's worth in the earlier part of the trip. So we didn't feel like going by the Thursday, it was like, well, if we don't make it to these fast passes, whatever, it's not a big deal. Right. So that's kind of how we think of our trips now, is that, we start off really excited and go, but then we make sure that by the end of the week, we're not pushing ourselves as hard.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to do it. I think that's definitely, it's interesting for me, because my whole Disney trip world is going to change on this next trip. Right. And that's because it's the first time we're bringing my daughter, and because my daughter will be just, a little over a year old. And before, when it was just my wife and I, we would go hard every day, right? Like we were up early in the morning. We would be at the park for rope drop. we get a couple rides done early in the morning, and then we'd go all the way till night usually. Sometimes we go back to the resort, but most of the time it was at the park all day. Taking it easy sometimes just wandering around, doing whatever it is we want to do. We like to park hop too, so sometimes we'd be like, yeah, let's, hop over to Epcot and, go do Epcot if we're at Magic Kingdom or something. There are things like that. And kind of similar to you, Trevor, we would kind of, in a way, use dining reservations as a guide. So it was, for us, we always, would choose our park based on extra magic hours a lot of times. Or, if we always start at Magic Kingdom, so... even if Magic Kingdom is not extra magic hours on our first day, we would still do that. But we like to be up early and go and do those parks every day. And in fact, this will be the first trip that we actually do like a pool day, where we take a day off in the middle of the week and just hang out at the resort and do the pool and do whatever. We've never done that before. In fact, at almost all of our stays, we've maybe once actually gone in the pool at the resort, which sounds crazy, I know, because most people will spend time in the pool. We just don't do it. We're there. We want to go to the parks, and we want to spend time in the parks and enjoy the parks. But obviously, that's all going to change for me with my daughter, because we're going to be stopping, midday. We're going to take a break midweek. All that is going to really change. We usually like to do all dinners, scheduled, and then sometimes in the morning we'll throw our breakfast in there, maybe once or twice a trip. But for the most part, it's it's dinners and then one of those breakfasts every once in a while. So I'm not a big fan of the idea of, I'm on vacation, I don't really want to be cooking in my room. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And plus, and Damon says this all the time too, like part of the Disney vacation is eating the food, right? The part of it is eating food there. So I don't really want to cook there. But that being said, on my trip in October, we're staying in a 2-bedroom, which, you'll have the full kitchen. So we'll probably cook some breakfasts in there and things like that, because there's a bunch of us, and just to make things a little efficient. And plus, my daughter gets up super early in the morning, so we'll be up anyway. But that's kind of what we do. We're not big break in the middle of the day. We're go hard all day kind of people. So, and I know, Damon, I don't know what your structure is with all these, and if it's changed over the years, but
no,
I know you're a rope dropper.
Always the same. It's always the same. Like I said, you save the best for last, and so here. Again, the only one that actually has 2 teenagers as well.
That's true.
We've always done it the same from when they were kids to, as they've gotten to be teenagers, 15, 13, and my daughter will be 9. We always start early. But I think that's a lot to do with me, per se, right? Like, I am an early person in general, so I like to get up early. Like Trevor, though, we kind of use the water park days as our down days. So what we'll do is we will get up early. And again, we care less about the shows, right? So it makes it easier to get up early and go rope drop when you're not worried about, getting up that early and then staying late for the shows most of the time.
You mean the nighttime shows?
Correct, the nighttime shows, yeah. So what will usually happen is, like I said, on a water park day, we'll get up, hit the water parks for half of the day, go back to the hotel, change, eat, then go out to the parks if we're going to do a little bit of a later night. And again, then on the days that we're rope dropping, we obviously wouldn't do the water park, and then we'll pack it in early. So the water park days are the ones that allow the kids to actually get. They want us to get. I'm sorry. So I have to break this up for a second. I just got a text from my wife. When we were in Atlanta, my son lost a blanket that he had from 4 years old, and to wrap this around to Disney, he ended up losing. Pillowcase at Disney, and Disney never found it. Anyway, the Lowe's in Atlanta did find his blanket, so we have to just get it shipped back. All right, that all being said, we'll just diverge. Because again, since that just came in, right? So we're living our life with, and he's a teenager, by the way, but this blanket, anyway. So we get up early.
It's, you got those things from childhood that are important. So
we get up early and do that. Now, when it comes to food, this is the way I look at Disney in terms of food. This is just me personally, though, again, with my, opinionated self. But we do breakfast in the room, okay? And again, we drive, but even if you don't drive, I mean, there's ways to get food. And the way I look at it is that I would love to spend a ton of money on dinner. I love to spend a ton of money on dinner. I want to have whatever I want at dinner. I don't care if it's 4 courses, this, that, and the other thing. And the way to kind of, balance that out money-wise, again, because you don't have enough, we personally don't have enough money to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner like that, especially going, once a year. we balance it out by doing a cheap breakfast. So we'll do a cheap breakfast in the room. And again, we don't stay in studios anymore because there's 5 of us. So, we always have, semi-full kitchen. It makes it easy to do that. And then, from there, we'll just leave. So we do our breakfast super early, then leave and go rope drop, hit the parks. Sometimes actually, most of the time we'll park hop. So we always try to come back to the room at least at lunchtime-ish before we switch parks, if possible, if everyone's kind of beat. And if not, sometimes we'll just switch parks in the middle of the day. I think the way I feel about it is sometimes just switching parks rejuvenates you as well. So that's kind of how we do it. But we don't stay, like I said, super late. So yes, do the kids get a little upset because they can't sleep in? Yeah, I would say so. But that sucks for them, right? Like, that's life. Like, they tend to stay up late as it is, and they're, yes, would they like to sleep in? But I just find that a poor use of our time because I can't sleep in. So, for me, but there's also been times that I've left the whole family at the park and been like, yeah, I'm out. Like, I'm going to bed because I'm tired. So when you have a family that has 2 separate schedules within their family, you kind of have to, blend it a little bit to make sure. And I think that's the problem is that, because I'm an early riser and no one else in the family is really, we try to accommodate all of us by doing that.
Yeah, that makes sense. We always try to have a sleep in day at least 1 week, like 1 day a week where we just we don't care what we're doing. And even our pool day in this next trip, I said to my wife, I'm like, we bought annual passes this year, and I was like, listen, we'll sleep in that day, and then if we want to saunter our way into one of the parks, then we'll do that, and whatever. So.
Pool days, what ends up happening for us is that, again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I forgot about the pool situation. Is that we try to do those at night, right? So we're kind of like that opposite. So what will happen is that for us, we'll hit like a kind of a pool night rather than a pool day. And that way, we kind of get our relaxing in there, and then the kids, I can kind of relax, or, maybe I just go to bed, while everyone kind of goes to the pool.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's kind of the way we work it. The other thing that we do, you wanted to hear tips and tricks, water. We only drink, and again, it's funny, my kids are just like this. My kids are not soda people. They joke with me about it, but they're really not at the end of the day anyway, or, juice. We're a big water family, right? It saves us so much money whenever we travel that, I want to eat my calories, not drink them. We don't really drink alcohol either, right? So we actually just do food. And, for us, having water is just the easy way to do it. And we end up bringing a Brita water filter with us. So one of the ones that you would put in your fridge, we purchase that, and then when we come home we just clean it out, and then we bring a filter with us. So figure it costs us, I don't know, I forget what filters are, I think they're like $10 or something, and then that's what we drink. We drink water throughout the day with that, and then when we go to restaurants we just drink water as well.
Yeah, actually that's a good point. I realized I don't think about that as well, is that we're actually the same way. We don't we get the Contigo bottles, and so kind of to your point about bringing food. So because we fly, we do a garden grocer order, and we do the same thing. We just stay, we eat breakfast in the room because it's easy and you can get going quick, which is, you really want that in the morning when you're trying to hit rope drop or whatever. But we also order, last time we ordered 2 flats of water because we just keep filling up the our water bottles. Like we got these 24-ounce water bottles, and we just keep those full. And then whenever you go to a quick service or whatever, you ask for a cup of ice water, and we keep those full. So we never. Yep. Same thing. I never really thought of how big of a deal that is, but I guess you're right. At the end of the day, that's a lot of money that, if you're drinking alcohol especially, but even just getting the drinks really
saves us $20. It saves us literally $20 every meal, and that's a lot of money. Again, if you're doing 2, so you want to put $50 in your pocket if you're going to do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, it's probably even more than that, right? For 5 of us. So I think that's one of the things that we do, because again, I'd like to try all the new foods and all the different foods, but it does get expensive.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, I have to drink the water anyway, because we come from a a less warm climate, so I'm not used to the heat anyway. So I got to be chugging the water.
Got to keep hydrated.
Yeah.
I think I've said this on the show before that I always have a rule when I'm at Disney, and I'm totally different. I don't really care about the quality of my water. I'll just drink it from the water fountain. But my rule basically to not get dehydrated is every time I see a water fountain, I go and take a drink from it, and for a little while. You know what I mean? So I know it's a weird thing, but it's been a good little kind of reminder for me. I see a water fountain, I go drink from it for a little while. So I mean, but that's, you know, we don't really buy sodas in the parks too. Maybe sometimes at dinner, but it's not something we usually do either. But you know, during the day, it's usually like you guys are talking about water bottles. You know, that we usually buy a couple things of water and bring them with us. A lot of I don't know if you guys like we'll freeze some too, and then let them melt throughout the day. That's always a good thing to do too. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think we've given enough tips, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I have the
helpful.
next one.
Yeah. So hopefully Lori and Matt, you guys got what you want out of that. If there's follow-up questions, you know, we'd love to hear them as well. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, this next one's from Caitlin. Hi guys, I'm a big fan of the show. I'm hoping you guys can give me some advice for an upcoming trip. I've been going to DVC Resorts since 1995 and my aunt's membership. Last year, my husband and I decided to finally get our own membership as a wedding gift to ourselves. And she says that was the best decision ever. I would tend to agree. That's a pretty darn good, responsible decision, too. Our first trip on our own membership is this November. We're planning on bringing down both sets of parents and several siblings for a big family vacay. Well, that's awfully nice of you, too. I mean, I wonder if they're bringing them on their points or if they're actually just meeting them there. Okay.
Kind of sounds like they're bringing them on their points.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of points. That would be a good way to do it. Anyway, so since it's our first time having to plan a whole trip from the reservation side as well, I'm finding the whole process to be pretty overwhelming. Every time I think about trying to coordinate dinners, fast passes, getting everyone signed up their own Disney accounts, and getting the darn MDE site to work, we can't help you there, and match up to my reservation. I am filled with total vacation planning dread. Do you have any advice or suggestions? Some of our guests are total Disney newbies, so I don't want to just leave them hanging. So what I've always found is that my wife doesn't actually like doing the stuff online. She calls in every single trip. Huh. And that is actually, for her, she finds that to be a lot easier, a lot less stressful. They are super nice cast members when you call in for things, and I think that's kind of how we've gone about doing it. Now, again, you know, we work ours a little bit differently. I usually don't buy tickets until in that 60-day window anyway. I don't really worry so much about my fast passes, to be honest with you. So, again, this is something that's interesting. And the reason I don't really worry so much about my fast passes is because I rope drop stuff. So even last time, you know, I don't think we bought our tickets, but maybe a week or two out from the trip. Obviously, there was no Pandora, right? When my friends had bought their tickets, you know, way farther out than that, and they had their 60 days and they got Pandora, we just rope dropped it. I mean, it wasn't a big deal for us because, again, we're always there early. Now, again, my kids may start to revolt at some point to that, but, I mean, I'm a big rope drop person, so it's not a big deal. But I think from the standpoint of trying to coordinate all that together, you know, I always find just calling in is super helpful. That's my opinion.
So, and I know, Trevor, you've got some thoughts on this because you just kind of did this, right, with your friends. But I just wanted to throw out there really quickly. So I've been planning. I have a big family trip coming in October, and by big family, you know, with 7 of us, including my daughter. So it's myself and my wife, my sister and her boyfriend, and my dad and my stepmother. And we got a 2-bedroom at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and so my dad and my stepmother know nothing about Disney. My sister and my best friend, who's also my sister's boyfriend. That's a whole separate discussion, but he was my best friend first, in case you were wondering. But anyway, so they kind of know stuff, right? So they know some things. And so what I decided to do is to do a Google spreadsheet and share it with everybody, so that everybody kind of knew what was going on. And so I put each day, you know, on the of the trip on there, and I you know, I'm going to put out what each park has extra magic hours, and what I want to do is put, you know, what each park that we plan on going to that day. You know, I breakfast, lunch, and dinner on there. And most of the time, I think we're only going to do one breakfast, but, you know, just as like a character breakfast for my daughter. But that's something I think that's really helped because I could share that. I also have a tab on there that's for a grocery list. So whatever everybody wants for breakfast, or snacks or whatever, they can put it on that sheet. And that way we're really organized and we're, we know what we're doing. And that's kind of what we're doing there. And for me as the person who knows what they're doing, talking to them, they're just like, we trust you, just do whatever, just plan it all together. And so I'm not dealing with multiple, My Disney Experience accounts. I'm just dealing with one where I have all of them on there and I'm doing everything for everybody. Now, it sounds like in your situation, and maybe to Damon's point earlier, it sounds like it could be that you have people that are staying not with you, but maybe separately from you, where you have to match up those accounts. And that's one of the places I know Trevor can speak to, because Trevor just was doing this with planning other people's plans through My Disney Experience. But that's one of the ways we do it. I think a Google spreadsheet like that is really helpful because you can share it with everybody, and then everybody can kind of be part of the process if they want to be. But I don't know, Trevor, I know you probably have some thoughts on this too, since you did some similar stuff recently.
Yeah, so I do agree with the Google spreadsheet. So I didn't use it for my friends, but I've definitely been using one for myself and my family. And it's the kind of thing like me and my wife go back and forth on it. And it's super easy as a way that everyone can see the plans, and it's not like you have to wait for people to I gotta, come over to your house to look at it or whatever. Definitely a Google spreadsheet is a great thing for these kinds of trips. As far as the planning multiple parties, so in my case, my friends decided that we were all going to meet up in Disney World, and this happened. We were already within the 180-day window for dining, and we were already past 60 days out for fast passes as well. So we were within inside of all those booking windows. So it was actually a little bit harder to get everyone booked because I had to wait for them to get park tickets and stuff like that to do fast passes. So I guess that's the first thing, is that if you're going to worry about fast passes for your party, everybody has to have their tickets on their My Disney Experience accounts, because even if you, or again, if you're managing everybody through your account, you have to have those tickets sorted first before you can do anything fast pass related. So keep that in mind. If you got a larger party and they're saying, well, I'm not going to buy my tickets until I get to, until the day we're there, you have to make it very clear to them, well, I'm not going to be able to book any of your fast passes for you ahead of time. So you just have to accept that, you may not be going on certain rides, and that's just the reality of it. But as far as the planning went for my party, the more important thing was actually the dining reservation, because the way it worked out with my friends is that we did spend the majority of it was just a single day that we all had together in Magic Kingdom. So rather than planning an entire week, we just had the one day. But even at that, throughout the day, we did end up splitting up at a couple of points. Like there was a couple of them wanted to go off and go on this ride and this and that. But we all had agreed on we were going to meet for lunch at the Skipper Canteen. So getting that in place is probably your biggest priority. And the nice thing about that is that you can book that and you don't need anybody else to have a My Disney Experience account. You can just book however many guests you need for that reservation. And then you can add them in later as you get My Disney Experience accounts. So I would say for your planning on this, Caitlin, start with the dining reservations. So get everybody to agree on, if you want to have a couple of big sit downs together with the entire group, plan those first, because those are the easiest things to plan. And then when it comes to fast passes, you do unfortunately have to have that conversation. You have to say, hey guys, I'm going to book as many people as I can on Space Mountain, but these two over here, if you're not able to get on, sorry, you guys can go ride the People Mover. And that actually happened with our party, is that there was like 6 of us that went on Space Mountain, and then 3 went over and rode the People Mover while they waited for us.
Like if Tom was with us.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, exactly. That's right.
I think Trevor makes a very good point here, because we kind of do the same thing. So one of the things that we always try to coordinate is food, right? So at the end of the day, look, there's a disappointment factor by not having fast passes for a ride, but the actual amount of time standing on line if someone has fast passes and you have to wait for them is far less than a dining reservation, right? So I think that is a very valid point. I'd rather wait for someone to ride Space Mountain than wait for someone to eat at, my favorite restaurant in Disney. So I think that's, again, something that we also do as well. We make all our dining reservations together because you can do them without, like you said, without having your tickets.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, the whole thing about fast passes, like we also realized because we were going, and again, I know it's different because like this is your family and everything, but for us, because we're friends, but we've never really had an opportunity to get together before, we were okay with standing in line for a lot of rides. Like we stood in line for Haunted Mansion and Pirates and all that. And we didn't care that, it was, 30, 40 minutes because while we were waiting in line, we were chatting, we were, having conversations and stuff. So it didn't feel, that you were just standing in line waiting for 40 minutes. So, and I think for larger parties, that's something you have to factor in as well, is that, don't necessarily expect that you're going to get everybody on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, or Avatar or whatever. Be prepared to, look at those rides that, like do a little bit of research on the rides. Look at the rides that actually have space for more people. I use Jungle Cruise as a great example because, you can get a party of 10 people on there and, you're all in the same boat. You're all together going through the ride together. And to me, that's more valuable than, trying to squeeze people into, the latest and greatest ride, because even though you really want to do those rides and you want to do those rides together, they don't always lend themselves to a larger social dynamic. And then also further to that is, be ready for your party to split up too. Like it's a hard thing to get your head around, that like you kind of think, you're planning a vacation for everybody, that you feel like you have to be like the tour guide and take everybody around. But if you give people a bit of freedom, you may find that it actually works out better. You just say, here's our dining reservation, go do what you want. Like, I'll see you then. Yeah. Right.
It makes sense. Yeah. It makes total sense.
Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I kind of learned all that stuff on my last trip here because I was, at the beginning, I was kind of a little neurotic about it. You can ask my wife, is that I was like, oh my God, my friends are going to think I'm a horrible person because I didn't get us on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. But
you're too nice.
Really, yeah, right. But really, it was fine. We had a great day regardless. And it was, we had a bit of planning. We had, I think we ended up with 2 fast passes that day. And then the rest of it was just us getting in line for rides, and it was fine. So
makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I would say, Caitlin, to you, Trevor, I don't know if you had more to say, but
no, I think I've said everything I need to.
Caitlin, if I were you, here's what I'd do. I'd say, I'm the Disney expert here. All right. Everyone that's coming here, I'm just going to plan everything for everybody, and we'll deal with that. Because you're the one that knows everything, right? So just take control of the situation. Be the one that plans everything. I was talking to my sister today, and I said, she said, I trust you to make all the dining reservations, but I reserve the right to complain about them. And I said, that's not how it works. You can't say you're going to complain about them later if I'm trying to give you input. But anyway, so no, but take control of this. Say, listen, I know what I'm doing here. If there's a specific place you want to eat, we'll factor it in, but I'll schedule all this stuff. It'll just make it easier. And if you are in a situation where there's multiple My Disney Experience accounts, if they're staying on different reservations, systemically you can connect to those other accounts. You can like invite them as friends or whatever, and you can they have to accept, obviously. And there's a setting where you can set up where you can make plans for them. So if they're going to have a different account with a different reservation and all that stuff, that's the thing you're going to want to do. You're going to want to connect those 2 accounts and then be able to make plans for those people, and that'll make it easier. If you want to do everything together as a group, the best way to do it is for one person to kind of take control of this and not have 8 different people all trying to make decisions separately. So I think that's my 2 cents on it. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. But I hope that helped you out, and I hope this trip goes well for you, but let us know if you have additional questions from all the things we just said. So,
And let us know how the trip goes, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We have a special guest here. My daughter's here. Wait,
hello.
Come here. Come here. She wants to tell everyone what's your favorite resort to stay at.
Oh, let's hear it.
My favorite resort to stay at is the Boardwalk.
And what's your favorite ride?
Rock and roller coaster.
Okay,
nice.
Thank you.
There you go.
Now.
Nice rock and roller coaster. Wow. So you just stayed at Boardwalk. What, your last trip, right?
No,
actually, 2 trips ago.
2 trips ago, yeah.
Okay.
2 trips ago. So
yeah, I'm with you. Boardwalk's awesome.
All right. What do we have next now?
We got
Brian.
Brian.
A lot more of these. We got to speed it up
more.
here.
Yeah, let's. All right.
Okay, well, that's not true
more.
necessarily. This is the last question. The rest are comments. So
yeah.
The rest are comments. I'll read this one real quick unless somebody else wants to.
Now go ahead. I'll now read the comments then.
Okay. This is Brian on Facebook. Reached out to us. Hey guys, newer listener to your podcast, and I've been making my way through the archives. Would love to get your take on a question I have as I contemplate whether to explore DVC membership. I'm weighing on buying points at a current legacy resort, a Copper Creek or an Alani direct versus resale points versus direct points in the new Riviera resort. So he's got a couple different options here he's going over. We're a family of 3 from Seattle, and we'd like to come once or twice a year, and a couple stay at resort with a cruise. Did I miss that? Miss a word there? A couple stay at a resort with a cruise. So we're typically staying 4 to 5 days at a time, but could have a trip of up to a week. So I guess maybe they do a cruise combination with a
couple days stay.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's what he meant on there. So I see Disney's running a special rebate right now on points at Copper Creek and Alani, which is also making my decision more difficult. I think we like staying at resorts like Bay Lake or Beach Club for proximity to MK or Epcot. We like 1 bedrooms at the resorts for the space it affords and the flexibility to bring others. I think buying at Beach Club resale would be the worst option given the length of the contract. I've heard many say that buying direct at the new resorts is better for length of contract, despite the price per point. Maybe the answer is a combo of direct or resale, but I don't know how hard it is to book at resorts outside of your home resort. For instance, we might like to stay at Beach Club for marathon race weekend. Sounds like maybe that won't be tough for 1 bedrooms. Anyways, would just love your thoughts on various directions. So I just since I've just read this one, I'll give my thoughts right away. So I personally believe, my personal opinion is I like the combination of the direct and the resale. If you buy, the 75 points direct, then you get the benefits. And then if you buy resale after that, you're going to get the benefit of, it being a lot cheaper, thousands of dollars cheaper to buy your next contracts. The only downside of that, of course, is that if you want to stay at Riviera, that you're only going to be able to use your direct points to do that. But personally, I wouldn't buy at Riviera just because of all the restrictions that are going to be on resale for Riviera. I think you need to be careful there. I think it's it could be a concern for some people unless you never ever plan on selling there. Then maybe you're fine. But personally, I would not go with Riviera. I think if you buy those direct points, you'll be able to use them at Riviera. There's no need to buy them there. For me, I have stayed, and we've talked about this a couple times on the show, I have stayed at my home resort one time. I've stayed at, I believe, 8 different resorts now. And of course, all of those have been booked at 7 months out, and all of those have been studios. So I've been able to get those studios, and it's not that I'm going in non-peak times. It's just, sometimes I wait list. Sometimes I'm always watching the availability tool to see if something comes up. We've done split stays. I would say, a lot of people talk about there not being a lot of availability, and I think you need to be careful about that because, there's a lot of times where there's not a lot of availability, especially on busy times. You're talking about a marathon weekend. That could be tough. But you also have to be careful what rooms you go after. We talked about the example many times on here is some people go, I could never get a standard view room at Boardwalk, studio at Boardwalk. Yeah, it's because there's like 20 of them. Okay, so like you have a whole bunch of DVC members fighting over 20 rooms. Yeah, it's going to be tough to get that room, especially at 7 months. So for 1 bedrooms, though, you're talking about 1 bedrooms. 1 bedrooms typically seem to be the last booked room. So the room that DVC members book the least. So that it's probably going to help you out quite a bit because those do tend to be available around 7 months. So I think in that case, you'll probably be pretty good. But, so me personally, I would think you go, maybe some 75 points at Copper Creek and then go with a resale contract, and definitely check out on DVC Resale Market. They have on their blog, they do the best value contracts for resale. So ones that are going to be the best cost wise for your points, and then also your dues on those as well. And so, they have kind of a chart that, constantly changes every month or quarter of what the best value resorts are there. So that's something you can check out too. But I just talked a lot, so I'd love to hear from you two guys about what you think about this.
Okay. I guess I'll chime in next on this one. So, as far as the whole idea of buying direct versus resale, we just talked about this on the last episode. Is buying direct definitely does have its benefits now. With being able to use those direct points at Riviera. There's also the perks that come with a direct membership. So if you look on the DVC website, they have all the perks, and of course those are all subject to change. And I guess that's the first thing. And I was even told this by the gentleman that I purchased my DVC points through at Disney. He said, if you're looking solely at the perks, you shouldn't be buying this. Like the perks shouldn't be what's selling you on the stay. It should be, where it is, and is it, does the contract fit what you want to do? I can't answer that for you because I don't you gave us a lot of great information about, what your thought was about what you want to, or where you want to stay and the size of your family. But as far as, when you're planning to go, how you do your vacation, you do have to kind of sit down and think about that, and think about, as far as Copper Creek goes, is Copper Creek close enough to the parks like you were talking? You want to be close to Magic Kingdom and to Epcot and stuff. Does Copper Creek fit that as your home resort? Or, assuming that you're never going to book outside of the 7-month window, that may be a non-issue. So then at that point, it's, well, do you even really need to buy at Copper Creek? Could you just buy a resale contract somewhere else? Because, like Tom and Damon have done, they book within the 7-month window. So it's really a non-issue what your home resort is at that point. For myself, we like to stay at the Poly, and we do book at 11 months out. I do actually make use of that 11-month window for my home resort. So to me, that did matter for where I bought my points. And again, in my case, like Tom said, I do like the idea of, buying the direct, getting the perks of the direct. And for me, buying our first contract, we wanted to buy it through Disney. That was just a personal preference that, we were aware of resale, but we said, no, we want to do this one through Disney. Our second contract, which we just finished purchasing here recently, was a resale contract. And we made sure that we combined it in such a way that, it's the same use year, and it basically just extended our existing contracts so that, we've got more points on our current contract. So, again, that's what suited our situation. So, I would love to say, there's a very simple answer to all of your questions, Brian, but really you have to kind of factor all these things in together, right? How you're vacationing, when you're vacationing. And I think that will help guide you to where you think you should be buying your points. And also something else, I said this a long time ago on one of our episodes, is that when we bought our contract, it took us about 2 months to figure out when we wanted to buy our contract. Like, we started talking with Don Deal at DVC, and we felt like we were almost like bugging him, like, because we called him, like, it was like once a week we had like a list of questions, and we kept asking him all these questions, and he was great about it. He was like, no, take your time, I'll answer everything you need. And he was super, super great about it. And then finally, after 2 months of that, we were like, yeah, this makes sense. This is what we want to do. And then we pulled the trigger at that point. So also, Brian, yeah, don't feel like you need to necessarily rush into any of this. I know that, the Copper Creek deal and Alani and everything are going on right now, and Riviera is coming up, but there will always be a deal. There will always be something that they're offering, I guess. Yeah. So, you know, don't feel like you're missing out, even if you don't get whatever the current deal is. Because if you're doing it just because you want to get the deal, it may not necessarily work out for you in the long term. So I guess that's my thoughts on how to approach this.
my thoughts are a lot easier. I feel like buy direct first and then see where that lands you. Right? I mean, no one to say that you have to buy all your points at once either, right? I mean, that's kind of the nice part about it.
That's true.
Buy some points, see how you deal with it. I mean, we bought points and then went back and bought direct points again, right? Like, it was fairly easy. It's not like it hurt us to buy our points separately if you decide to go that route as well. So my thought is you know, why don't you buy some points, right? Buy your minimum direct and then decide what you want to do after that. I mean, you can always go back and buy more direct points, or you can, you know, go and buy resale points at that point. But I think you'll have a better understanding of what you like to do. I mean, when you start talking about, you know, marathon race weekends, my thought is that your only chance is if you know, trying to stay at your home resort. So I just don't think that you're going to get those sort of special weekends at that 7-month window. That's my personal opinion. I mean, it could be wrong, but I mean, when it's something that's special like that, so you have to factor that in to what you want to do. I mean, is that something you're going to do more than once? If so, then that makes, you know, a little bit of a different, you know, decision for you, I think, if you would like to stay somewhere specifically for special events. So that's kind of my thought on that. But I mean, you know, Trevor and Tom have spoken on this at length already, and I think they have some good ideas as well. Yeah. No, I think they're all valid. Like Trevor said, it's kind of up to whatever you feel. And I know it's hard because it's a tough decision. It's a lot of money, and you know, it's you don't want to get stuck in something that's not going to work out for you. But I go back and forth sometimes for myself for, you know, do I buy more direct points or do I buy resale points? I mean, you know, there are some great things with resale, right? Price is one of them. There is, you know, some, you know, things with direct that are, you know, good as well. So yeah, again, I think that if you're conflicted between those two, again, I'm in, you know, and so were Tom and Trevor. We're all in the perfect spot. We had direct points, so it made that second, you know, point decision, you know, a lot easier for us to kind of go down whichever path we wanted. And I think that's the nice part about already having your direct points in, you know, already set up. So
agreed.
Yeah, actually, and sorry, I just realized one thing. I actually read this on Facebook not too long ago as well. As far as buying the contracts go, I didn't even really think about this, but buying smaller contracts actually makes more sense to, in the event that you do end up having to sell. So if Brian did decide, you know, he wanted to buy 200 points, if you buy a 200-point contract all up front, that's harder to get rid of later than if you had bought 2 100-point contracts. So something else to think of too is that, you know, when you go to sell your contract, you can't, and I guess I mean, I shouldn't say, you know, or assume that you're going to sell your contract. I mean, you know, for myself, I don't plan on selling it anytime soon, but in the event that I had to, right now, I do have 2 separate contracts that I can sell, which that makes it easier when it does come down to that. So sometimes, you know, positioning yourself for that also might, it might work in your benefit as well, is that, you know, it makes that part of it easier too, instead of, you know, someone having, you know, a 300 or 400 point contract that, you know, you're hoping that you'll find the right buyer for it, right? Like it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to these next 2 because these guys always try to keep me up too late on Sundays. And I don't like that.
We got listener comments now instead of questions.
Listener comments from Jen, and she says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Just listened to the latest podcast on my run. Thanks for the great episode. I just recently recommended you guys on my YouTube channel. So again, we'll plug her YouTube channel, which is Jen LaForge, LEFFORGE. If you search for her on YouTube, you will find her channel. I actually watched a few episodes and give it the thumbs up. So hopefully,
got the Damon stamp of approval.
Yes,
there you go.
Pretty much everything on YouTube gets the Damon stamp of approval because I love YouTube. Anyway, not really a question, more of a comment on discussion about paying $2,000 more to buy direct, and I thought I'd mention that the savings could actually be more like $10,000 to $12,000 depending on where people buy. I'm sure based on points as well. You weren't, and that's my little interjection in there, you weren't wrong about the unrealized value of the perks. Just thought I'd be a know-it-all and chime in that the actual realized savings could be thousands more, so that might change some people's mind. Appreciate all that you do and always look forward to new episodes. Take care, Jen. We just kind of spoke on this, so I'm just going to just run right through. I'm not even going to let these guys talk about it because it would be another 20 minutes if they talk about it.
Are you trying to say we're long-winded? Is that going to be a review that you're going to leave on our podcast?
I'm just going to write verbose 1 star. All right.
Someone write that review, but give us 5 stars.
Yeah.
All right. And again, thank you, Jen, for that. I agree. I mean, it could be 10 to 12K more depending on points and all that good stuff. But we've kind of talked a lot about this, so I appreciate our comment. But we're not going to delve into any more of that resale versus direct talk at the moment. We need to have Jen on the show. Why isn't Jen on the show? Jen, right in. Why don't you come and get on the show?
We can make that happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next comment is from Chris. My name is Chris, and I've been listening to your podcast since episode 6. Again, we need Chris on the show then too, right?
Yep.
So Chris and Jen.
All these early listeners.
Comment Appreciation Day.
There we go.
The DVC is something that my wife and I have been thinking about for a few years and found your podcast in my research. Your podcast helped with a lot of questions. It was an absolute joy to listen to my long commutes to work. I'm sorry you have long commutes to work, but I appreciate that, right? We all appreciate that. If we can make someone's life and commute a little bit easier is always great.
For sure.
A few weeks ago, we made the plunge on the resale contract at DVC resale market. Yay! Where we used Derek as our agent, who we had heard on your show. I think honestly, that's awesome. By the way,
it's great.
Yeah,
yeah.
I really do have to say that's awesome. Well, today we officially became owners of 140 points at Saratoga Springs, which is my home resort. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congrats to Chris and family. I just wanted to thank you guys for all that you do. And congratulations on 50 episodes. So I thought that was awfully nice. So that was good.
I think it's great when people, and Derek emails me every once in a while, and he's like, people call him every single day, and they go, "Wait, are you the Derek from Welcome Home Podcast?"
It's funny. And
that cracks me up every time. And I love the fact that anybody that's listened to the show that's then gone on and bought a contract, that's it means a lot to us because we were glad to be able to help you through it. So
well, they even helped me, and I actually just got my email this week from Derek that all of my closing stuff went through, so I should be getting my contract here shortly too. So
sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah,
right.
DVC resale market. Go use them, guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
We got to talk Star Wars a little bit now, right?
Let's talk about Star Wars.
Talk how dumb we are. Because
dumb. I tell you the truth. I don't think a lot of people.
No one saw this
was going to happen. Yeah.
We were on the right side of being wrong, though. I want to say this.
I think we were with.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I felt like I was like no way. Like so, I was more wrong. Wronger.
Well, no. I mean in that the fact that it opened earlier is to our benefit. So even though we were wrong, it still worked out. Agree with that. Right.
That's true. So maybe we should explain what we're talking about, as if people haven't heard this news. Because if you're in any Disney group at all on Facebook, this has been posted 8,000 times. This is one of those times, by the way, guys, where it like drives me nuts that we do a bi-weekly podcast, because it's like, okay, this news happened like over a week ago, and now we're just getting to comment on it now. So those that didn't see it, Disney announced at their shareholders meeting that the opening dates for Star Wars Galaxy Edge, which will be Disneyland Park on May 31st and at Disney's Hollywood Studios on August 29th. We literally were talking about this, I don't know how many episodes ago, but we were joking that we're all going towards the end of the year, like October, November, December, and we were all basically like, there's no way it's going to be open by then. And now it's opening on August 29th. Wow.
but not the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's opening in 2 phases. So everything's going to be open pretty much except for Rise of the Resistance.
Which is really the best thing there. But go ahead.
That's... You know what I think happened here? I was thinking about this a lot. I think they were like, okay, here's our date, right? We're going to open, I don't know, December 20th. I'm just throwing it out there. And then they were like, well, everything's going to be done by August 29th except for Rise of the Resistance. So it's like, why not just open everything else? Like, it seems weird. If everything else is going to be done, why not open the park and leave that one?
I think it may,
closed,
again, it's smart business, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, the one good thing I will say about this, I'm again, we still don't know when Rise of the Resistance is actually going to be open. It could be open before we're all there, for all we know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And this way, because of everything that's happened, we kind of have to err on the side of saying, hey, maybe it will be. But this is actually going to be kind of nice. Like, I look at it, will I be upset if Rise of the Resistance isn't open when I'm there? Yeah, but what's kind of cool is, like, now I don't have to, like, be on Star Wars high alert, right? Like, I can kind of be like, I got one ride to ride. I really don't even care about that ride, to be honest with you, because that's not really all.
Your thoughts on that ride are well documented on this podcast.
Well documented.
I do want to see Hondo, though, but I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in the food and all that, but I think the nice thing about this is that you'll be able to kind of enjoy the land a little bit, hopefully. I mean, I know it's going to be packed, right? But it will be packed like a Tatooine sort of, trading area. So it's not so bad, right? I mean, you get the real sort of feel of what it would be like if you were trading droids. So that all being said, I think it's actually going to be nice if it's not open, because it will give us a little bit of a, don't have to go crazy. But, then again, if Rise of the Resistance is open, even better. I think this, like I said, I get it. And from a business standpoint, I think it's a good idea from Disney to do it this way.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I have to say, when I saw this news, I had mixed feelings about it, because and you kind of said this, Damon, I think in the last episode, that if Star Wars is open by the time your trip comes around, that it complicates things. Like, it changes the whole what your trip's going to be.
It changes a vacation to a job. That's exactly what it does.
Yeah, you're right.
You're not wrong. I mean, the stress level goes up, and yeah, I mean,
especially because we're there over Thanksgiving and we're not there for a long time. And like you, Trevor, I'm going to want to see the Christmas stuff, right? This is going to be crazy that these words are even going to come out of my mouth. But honestly, I believe that the Christmas setup has to take precedence over Star Wars for me.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds crazy, I know, but
no.
Well, you're not crazy, because I've already told my son. I made it very clear to him after this announcement. I said, there's a possibility that we may not even set foot into Galaxy's Edge this trip, and we have to be okay with that.
I think so, because see, here's the interesting part. Galaxy's Edge is open, from when it opens, it will then always be open.
Yeah.
But to see something like the Christmas items, and the decorations and the shows and all of that stuff, that's on a more limited basis, right? It's X amount of weeks, and that's it every year. So I think that the precedence has to be given to that from our end. And again, I do not have any, besides myself, I don't have any real Star Wars super fans in my family. So it's also a little bit easier, right? Because it's really just me going, as a grown adult, going, okay, you know what? That's okay. That's all right if that's what happens. So, I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it as well.
Yeah. I get that, and that's, for me, it was mixed feelings, because I'm like, oh man, does this mean the crowds are going to like explode now? What, for my trip in early October, is this going to make my trip that much worse? Now, I think we'll get past the initial crowds maybe a month in. I don't know. I could be wrong.
You're funny.
Yeah,
you're funny.
Well, I listen. It's going to be crazy for a long time, and I'm not saying like I don't think it's going to make. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it's going to make Magic Kingdom busier. It's not going to make Epcot busier. It will certainly make Hollywood Studios a lot busier. And I could still probably avoid it, though. I mean, I'm sure I could still go to Hollywood Studios and go do all the other stuff at Hollywood Studios and completely avoid it if I want to.
I don't know about that, because I think it's going to be one of those things where, like,
capacity.
There's going to be more people, just there in general. But, I mean, we shall see. I mean, that's something that's up for debate.
I mean, here's the hard part is that, there's going to be the people that are going to line up for Galaxy's Edge and all that, but if it hits capacity, or if it, like, for the first little while, if it's so full that, people that were going there expecting to get in, they go, well, we're not going to go there. Where else can we go? Oh, they're spreading out into the rest of Hollywood Studios and potentially into the other parks,
because there's Toy Story Land too.
Yeah.
Again, that's the newest land outside of this. I think the other thing that we really have to kind of get out there is that they're saying that there's going to be no fast passes offered for I guess the beginning for these rides, which I, again, as a rope dropper, I'm okay with that. I wonder what that adds to my drop. 30 minutes? I think it adds 30 minutes.
I feel like it takes off your drop, though, right?
No.
Yeah, why wouldn't it? Because you don't have the fast pass people. You only have standby people in front of you.
But you'll have more people rope dropping, though.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I fully believe people are going to camp out at, like, from the night before.
Well, I think in the beginning, maybe, but like you said, maybe by the time we get there, that I think it's going to add 30 minutes to what I would consider my first rope drop time. When I would normally have gotten there, maybe I have to get there half an hour earlier. I think it's interesting about rope drop. Then again, like, I hate to talk about it, right? Because we hate to, like, get more people rope dropping. Does everyone sleep in, right? It's fine. Just sleep in. It's okay.
Everybody sleep till noon. It's fine.
Sleep till noon. It's
Noon's
fine.
the best time to go on the rides.
It is. It's true.
I think that, there's not, like, when you talk about adding people in the beginning to rope drop too, not a lot of people like to get up that early. So, I mean, the amount of people that you add, even if you add a few thousand people, it almost is irrelevant in terms of rope dropping. I mean, I'm not like a runner, right? Like, I think that's just rude, right? We're like walk is, a little bit of a brisk walker, but there's definitely no running. And I just think that,
you walk
it's not
in
a
Disney's
big deal.
park. Mr. Disney wants you to walk. That's what I tell myself.
Yep.
I like that. Well, what also, let's point out too that at Disney World, the Galaxy's Edge will be open for extra magic hours. So that's interesting too. Because that could change your math too there, Damon, if they have an early morning extra magic hour.
So what's interesting about that is, right? Again, this is what I'll say about that. I almost don't even want to say it, but, people have this theory of, well, if there's extra magic hours, you don't want to go to that park if you're rope dropping. And I would say it's the exact opposite.
I agree. So. Especially for the morning ones, because the morning ones are 7 to 8 a.m. or 8 to 9 a.m. So you're talking, I'm not 7 to 8 a.m. I don't know why I said that, but it's 8 to 9 a.m. usually. And so you're getting there at 7:30, or. And
I think I would get there at 7. That's what I would be forgetting.
Most people are not getting there at 7. So that's why I said 7 to 8, because usually you're getting there that early. So if it's an early morning one, I mean, that's definitely an advantage there. But I
was listening to this whole thing about, rope drop and, when is it better to wait and think, my thing is that my kids are way less, they might be a little tired, but they're way less off the wall at 7 in the morning. Like, they'll sit there on their phones for an hour at that point and not be annoyed, right? Like, while we're sitting there waiting. And the other thing is too, is that, like, when you're rope dropping, like, until everyone kind of, like, you can kind of just chill. Like, it's, it's a little bit easier to chill than in line. That's my thing. And I think that the other thing is, and this is something that happened to me on Harry Potter during opening weekend that I was there, which was awesome, by the way. What ended up happening was, as the ride broke, I didn't go through the queue. And I was like, man, like, so it was the first Harry Potter park and we didn't get to go through the queue. I almost feel like you're going to want 30 minutes in the queue regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's true.
I think, because I think that, honestly, 30 to, I know everyone would love this if this was theirs, but 30 minutes to an hour for the Pandora queue, not really all that upset about that.
Because it's such an amazing queue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I've
never been in that queue, honestly. But
oh yeah, because you're a fast passer, right?
Yeah.
But,
the queue is actually worth it.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. But I did read something about the Falcon ride, that while you're going through the queue, that you're always going to have a good view of, like, the Millennium Falcon outside. So, like, as you're going through that queue, if you want to take pictures or whatever in front of it, I guess you're always going to have some sort of good view from wherever you are in the queue line too. And I'm assuming the queue line for both of these rides is going to be ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I don't know. Do you wonder why they're not doing fast passes? Do you think is it a logistical thing? You think this is like a strategic thing? Is it because they're going to sell fast passes like we were talking about? I think
it's because they're going to sell fast passes. I'm hoping.
Yeah, I know you're hoping, right? Yeah, because you'll be first in line. So. I
would be awesome if they were selling fast passes and then there were no other fast passes offered. People are going to be mad at me for saying that, but
awesome. I don't even think it's that complicated at this point. I think it's just they realized in the first couple of months is that, the people who are going to wait are going to wait, and if they made the fast pass as an option, it just creates a weird. It creates a discourse.
System, yeah.
Because then then there's this whole we had to wait 3 hours because of those fast pass people, right? Like it takes all of that away, and it just becomes this place is busy, accept it. Like
think about this though, Trevor. The other thing that is kind of put into my head as well is that if there's no fast passes, if the ride breaks, we're
they don't have to honor
differently. right? That's an interesting thing. Now, here's kind of what I find interesting about that. And this happened on Harry Potter. And again, what happened to me was I was told secretly, come back, 20 minutes before the park opens, we'll get you in. Like, man, those were the Cavalier Cowboy days of, amusement parks. Wow, just come in 20 minutes early. And I was like, there's no way. And none of my family would come with me. They're like, you're a liar. I walked dead into that park 30 minutes early, and they were like, yo, go on the ride. And I was like, park's open? Park's open. Went on the ride 8 times in a row, was so sick for the rest of the day. Okay? And my family's like, why are you so sick? I was like, because I rode it 8 times in a row. They're like, why? I go, because there was nothing else open.
Because I could.
It was open because I could. Yeah. So I think that there might be a little bit of that involved, because, see, here's the thing. Let's say the ride breaks down and people are in line, right? What I can do is I can give them all fast passes. Right? And then I can fix the ride and they can come back. So I don't know if that could be part of it as well from a technical standpoint, because, again, from the technical aspects of this ride, I have this like breakdown-ish feeling, and that definitely helps with that as well.
Well, and if you think about with Pandora, when Flight of Passage broke down, people book fast passes, and people got so fanatical about it that, it broke down. They expected that they were going to get back on the ride the same day. And if they didn't, holy, there was a lot of angry Facebook comments about that. Yeah, I saw some rants about it that, people were really upset because, because of the way it was tiered, they couldn't give them, come back any day, because there was just so many people already, their fast pass system was maxed out already. So I think that's I think what they learned from Toy Story Land and from Pandora is gauging how they're going to handle this. Is they realize, just take the fast passes out altogether. It makes more sense.
Wait, I'm stunned, because, again, I have to go, but I'm stunned by this next thing that you guys are even talking about. And I'm just going to totally just take over the show here.
All right,
Club Cool is leaving.
Club Cool gone. Gonna be gone.
It's gonna leave. Okay, yeah. So sorry.
I don't even know what to say to that. That
ahead,
hurts. That could hurt more than Ellen.
So real quick. So just so everyone knows, we've changed gears here quickly, and Damon does have to go, and he wants to talk about this. We're talking now. So we'll come back to Star Wars on our next episode. We will. Yep. Epcot has there has been demolition permits filed for Innoventions West. I hope I got that right. Or no.
Innoventions.
Innoventions.
It was Innoventions.
Is it West or East? No, it's the West one.
It's West. Yeah, they're taking it West.
Okay. So that means the Starbucks, Club Cool, where the character meets are, all of that is going away. The character meets are going over to the Imagination Pavilion, which I think that's cool. But yeah, we lose the Starbucks and Club Cool.
I think we lose Club Cool because the Coke stuff in Disney Springs. Yeah, man, that is horrible though. So anyway, yes, I'm going to leave. So I'm going to totally hijack again. And the Stunt Spectacular, I'm actually excited that it's going to be new, but I'm disappointed that it's going to take so long. So
that's good.
And I'm going to let you guys talk about Club Cool. I really may have to start doing T-shirts. Save Club Cool.
Save
I'm
Beverly.
Totally upset about that.
Save Beverly.
Yeah,
I am so upset about that.
I will support that hashtag, and I don't even do Twitter.
Hashtag Save Beverly.
I'm so upset about that. I'm gonna tell my family we're all gonna be upset, because that was one of the things we like to do together as a family. I'm very upset about it.
We will all do the pilgrimage to Club Cool. I even got my friends to do it on our last trip, and it was hilarious. I got an awesome picture of my friend trying the Beverly.
Well, funny. And see, that's the thing we're gonna lose now. You're gonna miss pranking your friend that doesn't know any better with it. That's you're gonna miss out on that now.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna miss out on that. I'm gonna miss out on drinking like 8 gallons of soda for free. All right. Well, fellas, I have to bid you adieu. And we will catch up next episode.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Yep.
Sounds good. I'm not as sad about. I'm sad about Club Cool. Don't get me wrong. I told my wife about this, and she was like, "What?" Like, she was so upset. And I get it, because I'm not happy about it either. But I also listen. I understand, and I think it's harder because we don't know what's going there. They haven't said, "Hey, this is what we're going to build in its place," so you can be like, "Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's going to be cooler then." But it seems like based on these permits, and this is it's called Project Gamma, and it's been around for a while, and it's actually something they've been talking about for quite a while, and it's basically the first steps of the retheming of Epcot. And so we saw some of this stuff at D23 where they were showing some art and things like that, and it seems like they're finally probably took them this long to either get the plans together or maybe to get the money together to do it. And I know when I say the money together, everyone's like, oh, it's Disney, they make billions of dollars. But like any other company, they have to, put money towards certain things. They got to get projects approved. It's not, just a given because they make billions of dollars.
There is still bureaucracy that they have to,
of course,
move through. So.
Yeah, they don't just rubber stamp everything like, oh yeah, go ahead and spend $1 billion. So this is I feel like in a way it's not a bad thing because it needs a refresh, right? There was Innoventions was dead.
Oh yes, it was barely. I wouldn't even call it on life support at this point. Like
exactly,
I walked in there and it was just a large empty warehouse with like 2 things in it.
Exactly, and it's sad. It's like sad to see. I always just walk through that area as like an air conditioned break, and there was a nice bathroom over there. I mean, that's literally right. It's just a big long hallway that's air conditioned, so you just cut through there. But I mean, this needs to happen. I don't know what they're gonna, and they might not put anything there. Maybe they'll just open it up and make it, newer. But I also don't think this is the end of Club Cool forever either. I think this could be, they're going to tear down the Starbucks, which obviously is a big deal to them, and Club Cool will go away, sure, but maybe it'll come back. Maybe they're going to put it somewhere else. Maybe this is just a temporary thing. I know people are going to be upset about it, but if you're upset about it, let's start the hashtag Save Beverly, and we'll start tweeting that if you use Twitter or on Facebook or whatever, and maybe we can get Disney to save it, right?
Yeah.
Social media campaign to save it, but
yeah. And the funny thing is, so first of all, let's all be a little realistic here.
Yeah.
So the only reason we all went to Club Cool was to try the exotic sodas. And the Beverly, I mean, I know it's a soda, but it deserves its own moniker. So, you go there for the samples. I know people bought stuff there, but, it's a Coke store, right? And the thing is that they have a Coke store in Disney Springs now. So
where you can have Beverly, they have Beverly there.
Yeah. It's part of it's a paid tasting tray, but everyone liked, you go in and I liked it too. It was kind of one of those things, on a really hot day, you pop into Club Cool, you get a couple of drink samples, and you
kind of
continue
broke up the day
on
a little bit. It was kind of like a nice little like, hey, let's pop into Club Cool and grab a couple weird sodas. Let's get have mango soda or something.
Yeah, and I mean the look of it was very it was starting to look dated as well. Like it's been around for a while, so
the floors are eternally sticky. No matter how much, like I would always walk on the, they'd be mopping them, and you'd still walk over where they mopped, and your feet are still sticking to the floor because it's so sticky.
Yeah, because they could never, they could never clean it fast enough. But I mean, I think really what we're wanting to save here out of that is just the sampling station. So whatever it looks like in the future, I hope that Coke at least realizes that having that thing there, I would love to go out and buy a flat of some of the sodas that they offered. Like it's like, I mean, I wouldn't buy it there is the only problem because, I'm not going to try and ship a flat of pop back or soda. Sorry, we call it pop here, but
there are certain places in the United States that also call it pop too. So you're in good, you're in good place there.
I was going to say as a Canadian, yes, we like our pop, but realistically to me, like I guess the problem is that it was a store. There was the sampling thing to it, but it is a store, and if nobody's buying anything in the store, why have the store there? I guess is the logic behind it, right? So so whatever form it comes back in, I hope. I don't know how many people were buying stuff there. Maybe again, this is just me speaking for myself. Is that I was never interested in actually purchasing anything from that store. I was just more interested in the sampling, right?
Yeah, no, I had no desire to buy anything in there. Yeah, but I also think this is just a casualty of this project, right? Like, because I'm sure the Starbucks there was super profitable, but it's all part of that building, right? So it's all part of that whole area building. So I think these are all just a casualty of the bigger project, right? But I hope they bring it back. And it sounds like apparently that Starbucks is going to move over to the Odyssey too, is what the rumor is. Mm-hmm. So because, you can't not have the Starbucks there. You got to have I'm not a Starbucks fan, but I know lots of people are. Every time I walk by those Starbucks, they're full. So
And I guess that's something else to think about too. Is they've already figured out where the Starbucks is going, but nobody's heard anything about Club Cool. That's not to say that it is gone forever, but the fact that we already know about the Starbucks tells you obviously, there is a lot more priority there than there is on a small Coke store when they already have one elsewhere. So
I'm gonna make some shirts that say #SaveBeverly on them.
Yeah,
we're gonna start selling those. They're gonna say #SaveBeverly, and then everybody can buy these, and we can start a campaign.
Yeah, maybe do like the you can use the if you use an X and a P for the emoticon for that.
Oh yeah,
because then that's like the face, like the crossed eyes with the tongue sticking out.
No, that's a good idea.
Because that's really what Beverly
this is brilliant. I wish we had our T-shirt store launched already, because I would just throw this in tonight.
Yeah,
but anyway,
I think we could get some traction with it. But
we probably could. But let's just point out too, though, that it seems that Mouse Gear and Electric Umbrella are not being torn down, so those will be fine.
Not yet, at least. So
yeah. And in this article, it says that Mouse Gear is slated for a major overhaul before the 50th anniversary. So, and that's probably something that could be done too. But I'll be interested to see what comes of this, right? Like it's funny because the whole moving the character spot thing to ImageWorks felt like innocent enough when it happened. But obviously that was a premeditated plan for when this was going to happen. And I don't think this was unexpected, but the whole tearing down of all of Innoventions West is kind of, I don't think I thought that was happening.
Well, yeah, I knew that something was going to happen after because again, this is all funneling into the Spaceship Earth redo as well, right? So
yeah, I believe
because that's going to take over part of Spaceship Earth is going to take part of Innoventions West. So that's a
good point.
Yeah, for them to leave part of the building there, again, doesn't really make sense. And when you look at the way the structure is of the building, right? It's for them to just cut it off at some point, it would have looked weird. It just
true. That's true.
So it makes sense for them to take it all down. Also, you saw the concept art they have for the overhaul of Epcot as a whole, right? Like it looks.
Yeah.
It looks to me like that whole area where Innoventions is. The feel I got from it is that they actually just want to get those buildings out of there altogether. So
they want to open it up, right? That's the feeling I got too, is to open it up.
Yeah. So I mean that takes that whole future world in a different direction altogether. Like it's true. It means that you're not going to have the buildings there anymore. I'm wondering if it'll be more gardens or more smaller venues that they'll use. Maybe that will be part of what they use for like Flower and Garden or Food and Wine and stuff. Maybe they're going to think because right now I know they've got the booths around World Showcase and everything, but maybe the idea is to turn it more into like a hub for these food. They're not food trucks, but like these food booths, right? Like yeah. To me, it seems like they're going to try and repurpose it more for something. It looked almost like a seasonal thing, right? Like they know that they need a seasonal venue, and rather than trying to shove it in between things, is take out the big buildings altogether, and then work from there, right? So
that's true. And I'm telling you right now, though, if they get rid of Art of Disney, I will riot, because that is every time we go, I go to Art of Disney and I buy several things from there, and I will be very disappointed if they get rid of that store.
Well, but you can find a lot of those in the galleries in Disney Springs too. So
I don't want to have to look for them, Trevor. I just like to know that they're there. Okay.
Okay. My wife said the same thing about Mouse Gears as well. When she heard that Mouse Gears is potentially on the chopping block, she's like, "They better not." I'm like, "Okay."
I know Art of Disney is like one of those things that not a lot of people go into, but like. I love the old attraction posters, and I have a whole part of my house filled with those, and I've not seen them anywhere else, and a lot of them you can't get online, and so they have that touchscreen in there where you can scroll through them and check them all out, and you can order them and have them sent to your house. If you haven't done that before, that machine is awesome. It's really cool.
I might have
they're fairly affordable.
Matterhorn one here I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, you've done it too, and it's I love those, and I would be so disappointed because we always buy a new one every time we go. We get it framed and we put it up, and so if that went away, I'd be bummed. But I get it. It's all part of the greater good here, and reimagining Epcot, and a lot of these spaces are sitting empty and need to be redone. So I get it. So I'll be interested to see what they announce. But like you said, they may just be opening things up a little bit, or it may be for the Spaceship Earth redo. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens, and I'm sure we'll find out more information at some point about this. So
yeah, but until then, make sure you tell your friends to save Beverly.
Hashtag save Beverly.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the shirts. They're coming. Hashtag save Beverly shirts are coming, and tell your friends.
Yeah.
Now I really have to do it because I'm telling people I'm going to do it. I guess now I have to really make a store for it. All right. If you want one, shoot us an email or wait. Don't blow up our email.
No. Yeah.
Blow up our Facebook page. And then because that's easier. But blow up our Facebook page if you really want them, and if I get enough requests, I will make this happen. Okay, so that's my promise to our listeners. If you really want it, tell me, and we will make it happen. Okay.
I really can't wait to see how this pans out.
I can't wait either. This
is going to be funny.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I want to make some T-shirts. So anyway, so Damon alluded to this earlier. I don't know if do you have anything else to say about that? Or
no, let's go back to Hollywood Studios. I think.
You want to go back to Star Wars?
Well, no, Indiana Jones.
You want to talk Indiana Jones?
Yeah. Okay. So we're done at Epcot for today. We're going to go back to Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
And so the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular is slated to get some upgrades, which
rumor.
Yeah. So I guess first of all, this is a rumor. We don't have any confirmation on this, other than WDWNT or WDW News Today posted this.
Yep.
They tend to have some fairly reliable sources, not always, but it sounds as though we should see some scene updates and or was it a removal of the working studio theme that ties back to the park as it existed in 1989. So that kind of makes sense. That
makes total sense.
Yeah, because that was part of how the show worked. Is that it was like, here we're filming stuff in Hollywood Studios, and here's a show kind of showing how we film stuff, and they just happen to use Indiana Jones. But it sounds like they're going to actually, if this does happen, they're going to retune it so that it's just really more of a a stunt show without all the I guess behind the scenes stuff, you could call it.
I'm assuming they'll still have like the well, I don't want to ruin the surprise for those who haven't seen it, but I'm assuming they'll still have the audience participation and all that. I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because that was kind of part of it,
kind
as
of part
well,
of the
right?
shoot. Yeah, because you were like an extra.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to retool this. It makes sense though, because those that haven't realized this yet, they are moving away from the movie set theming. So before, Hollywood Studios was like, hey, you're at a working studio and you're behind the scenes and how they make the movies, but that's not the theme anymore, right? They're moving on from that. I mean, they're covering a lot of the rides used to go on to, like, there was exposed like beams and stuff like that, because to show
like
that it was all facade. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That it was all facades before, and now they're covering a lot of that stuff up, and because they're changing the themes. So this makes sense to me. And truthfully, this show is, it's, I mean, has it ever been updated? I don't know.
No, it's still, don't get me wrong, my son loves the show. Like, we took him to see it, and it was a sleeper hit for sure on our first trip, because he didn't know what to expect. And he was even kind of looking at us going, before the show started, he's like, can we go? And then when he watched it, he loved it. So that to me, says the show still has merit, and the show still has, some attraction to it. But for me, I've seen the show enough times now, some of the things like the Jeep parts a little dated, like they can, the technology and the stuff that they're using in the show, they can take some newer technology and they can really make it like
they can do some cool stuff.
Yeah, as a live show, they can really make it that next level thing, right? And I think it's worth it. I think even though Indiana Jones it's had a couple of missteps in the past, like the sorry, I won't go into the fridge thing, but yeah, I said it. I know, but
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that it's still relevant. I feel that it's one of those IPs like Star Wars. Sorry, but
kind of timeless.
Yeah, Harrison Ford, like I don't know how he did it, but he managed to be in two of the biggest franchises like ever. And but yeah, I feel that Indiana Jones is still something that people are still going to want to go see it. They want it to be there. Like if they were to take it out, you would have more people mad at them for taking it out versus them upgrading it, right?
Well, and plus they are making another one, and it's going to come out, in the next couple of years here. So, that's a way to extend the life of this, right? You would think that there would be a bump for that show once it reopens up, and then there's a new movie, and then a whole new generation is learning about Indiana Jones. I think that's a smart thing. I have to say, I was just talking to my wife about this the other day, and a different show, but I loved the Lights Motor Action show that was one of the casualties of Star Wars. Yeah, I don't know. Did you ever see that show?
I did once. Yeah.
It was. I loved that show. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't really my thing. Like,
I get it. Yeah. Not everybody's thing. I think even, and I'm not even really into cars, but I just when you watch like how difficult the stuff that they were doing was, and like when they're spinning some of these cars and almost hitting other cars, but somehow not hitting them. Like, a lot of that stuff was really cool to watch. But that was the same kind of thing where it was like a set, and they'd film it and then they'd show the replay back later. And so that probably would have been a casualty of this park change anyway, even if they hadn't have destroyed it for Galaxy's Edge. But anyway, I think this is a good thing. Like you were saying, I think there's a lot of opportunity to take this in a new direction, to refresh it, to make it a lot more newer and something better for a new generation too. So I hope these rumors are true. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and so for anyone that's wondering, the rumor is that this won't happen until 2021. So we're still
a couple years away here.
Yeah, we're still a couple years away. So. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Really, we got bigger fish to fry right now with Galaxy's Edge. So,
I'll tell you what. I'm just hoping that Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is open when I go in October.
Yes,
that's what I'm hoping more than anything.
You're right. That has completely fallen off of the radar, and I realized that after the whole announcement of Galaxy's Edge. I said that to my wife. I was like, everyone's all hyped about this, but what about Mickey's Runaway Railway? And then she turned to me and she said, isn't that opening up in Magic Kingdom? And I looked at her and I'm like, it's at the Chinese theater. And and she's like, oh, like
everyone was
forgot. Like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well then, maybe that's good. Because then, maybe everyone will be standing in line for Galaxy's Edge and we can just kind of sneak off to the side and go ride Mickey's Runaway Railway.
I have to believe that they're going to open that before or the same time as Galaxy's Edge to at least peel some people off of Star Wars. Like, it's like the Skyway, like the Skyliner has got to be open before Galaxy's Edge opens, right? I mean, all that stuff, they've been building up all this stuff to the opening of Star Wars. So all this other stuff has got to open beforehand, I would think. Well, but I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know.
Well, the Skyliner is different because it is it's a transportation between the parks. And I can see them wanting that just to get people there. Mickey's Runaway Railway, my only thought on that is that it's in actually kind of a bad place because it's right in between Toy Story Land and Galaxy's Edge.
That's
well,
fair.
I guess not in between. I got it wrong. It's not in between. It's right before the entrance to Toy Story Land. But Galaxy's Edge is a little further down than that if you're coming from the main hub area in Hollywood Studios. But if I don't know. I mean, you're right. It's like, that would take some of the draw away, but I feel that all that would do is just make it busier. Overall. It wouldn't be like, oh, great, this is alleviating. It'd just be, no, now we got a whole other crowd of people trying to get in for this ride as well as all the other people in line for Star Wars and Toy Story.
I'll put it to you this way. If I'm rope dropping Hollywood Studios and that ride is open, I'm not going to Toy Story Land. Even though I haven't been there yet, I'm going to go straight to that ride. And I'm assuming everybody else is going to go to Galaxy's Edge or going to go to Toy Story Land. That's what my guess is going to be. And I mean, I'll rope drop Toy Story Land at some point because I haven't done any of that stuff there. But yeah, I don't know. I would rope drop that one, and I would assume less people would make that choice. But I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess here's the only. I shouldn't even say this because a lot of people are going to agree with me, and it's going to make it worse. But this is Mickey's first ride. Yeah. Like, you would think that they would be
fanfare.
Yeah, like they would be really hyping that up. And I guess, they probably are because they've been talking about, Mickey's 90th and there's stuff happening through the whole year. I bet you this is on the list. I can guarantee you they're like in a month or two, they're going to be like, oh, here's the opening date for Mickey's Runaway Railway. It's going to open, August 30th, and then
well, you know what, you're probably right though. Like, if they do want to announce that, they don't want to announce, they want to spread those things out, right? They don't want to they don't want to take away from Star Wars, and they don't want it to get that ride to get overshadowed by Star Wars either. So they're going to wait a month or two to announce that, and hopefully there's not an issue where like they're behind schedule or something, because we haven't even heard any schedule updates. Like, they're giving Skyliner updates like every 2 weeks, I feel like, but we haven't heard a single update about Mickey's Runaway Railway, and it's like, come on, like, I want to know when that's going to open, because I'm excited for that.
So here's the wonderful thing about that ride, and I think the reason why we haven't heard anything is that it's already in an enclosed building. So unlike Star Wars and Toy Story Land and everything, where people were always kind of peeking over the wall, going, "Oh, here it's going."
Oh,
the
look,
building
that mountain's done. Yeah,
yeah. People have been watching it progress, whereas this has been a very closed set. Like, nobody knows what's going on, and I think, kind of like how Rise of the Resistance ended up being a sleeper hit in Galaxy's Edge, that, like when it was first announced, all everyone heard was, Millennium Falcon, and that was the focus for the longest time. Yep. I think it's going to be the same thing with Mickey's, is that they're going to announce it, and all of a sudden everyone's focus is going to shift to this. And it's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they obviously believe they have a winner with that ride, because they're already planning to build it at other parks. We talked about a rumor a while ago at Disneyland, but I think one of the overseas parks, it was already announced that they're going to build that ride. So I don't think they would duplicate it without knowing that for sure that it's going to be a great ride. So,
well, we do know that, again, this matters to me. It probably doesn't matter to a lot of people, but I know they consulted with one of the Sherman brothers for the music for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that to me is like, I don't think a lot of people realize exactly how prevalent the Sherman Brothers music is through Disney, like with Mary Poppins and Small World, and
like literally all the songs at Disney.
Yeah, like many of the songs over the years with Disney. So the fact that they brought one of the Sherman brothers in, because I'm sorry, I can't remember. I think
the other one passed away.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was the older or the younger brother, but yeah, the fact that they consulted with him is kind of a big, like, that tells you the level that it's on. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, you know what? Yeah. Why don't we go on a crazy tangent, and we've gone on for quite a while today, but let's go ahead and wrap this up.
Yeah, let's continue this on our next discussion. Hopefully
when we get Damon back too.
Yeah, hopefully between now and next week, maybe I'll be wrong, and they'll actually, they'll drop a Mickey's Runaway Railway in the next 2 weeks. Or I would be thrilled if they did. But
me too.
Yeah. Okay. So to wrap things up, you guys obviously know where our email address is, because
you've been working us out on that one, so we appreciate that.
And that's great. So yeah, anyone else, if you're just coming into this, welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. So fire us an email. We love to hear your comments. We love the questions. Obviously, today we talked about questions and comments that you guys brought in. We love that. We're so glad that you guys want to engage us on that level. It's fantastic.
And Trevor, let me mention something really quick here too.
Mm-hmm.
And far more people than we discussed on the show email us. So, we appreciate all those emails. If we don't mention you on the show, it doesn't mean your email was bad or something. We just get so many emails. It's hard to mention all these, and we try to really talk about, topics that we think are relevant to the time or relevant to something we've been talking about. So just, we appreciate every single person that emails us, and we can't mention them all in the show, unfortunately, but if you've messaged us before, if you've emailed us before, we appreciate it. And, we try our best to get as many on these on the show as possible. We can't get them all. So thank you. Please keep doing it. And, know that we appreciate it.
Yeah, and if we did try, this would probably end up being like a 4-hour long podcast. So
yeah, I mean, as it is today, we talked for over an hour on listener stuff alone. So
I don't think you guys want to hear us go for 4 hours.
I mean, some people maybe, I don't know, super fans, I don't know.
Well, or I did have a thought about this, and so I'll just mention this. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I know that like you can do live or Facebook Live and stuff like that. Maybe we look at setting something like that up in the future. I don't know.
I definitely would like to do it. I don't know if everybody wants to see my face talking. I mean, I think I have a face for radio, but
well,
but no, we might do something at some point.
Well, maybe I'll get Damon to send me some pictures of those Dark Crystal puppets, and we can just put those up in front of the camera.
There you go.
Or at least I would
like
for me.
I like the idea of that. So.
Yeah.
And someday when we get back to normal schedule, maybe we'll do some more waitlist episodes too. We did a couple of those, and we kind of fell off on those. So I think we would love to get back to those if we can someday.
Yeah, it's when real life stops being real life, I would love to do more of them. Absolutely. But
for sure. Anyway,
we've just all had too much going on.
For sure.
So outside of that, we also have our website, which is welcomehomepodcast.com. Someday you will see an update to that site. It's still pretty old at this point. I mean, it's 2 years old, and I mean, we had good intentions with it, but we do want to use it, but we just don't know how yet.
Hashtag save welcomehomepodcast.com.
But
shirt's coming soon.
There you go. You can put the Save Beverly, like just put hashtag Save Beverly and nothing else on there.
There you go. That's just make it just say that and nothing else.
Yeah. And then maybe we can have a petition or something on there. I don't know.
I love it. Yeah. Change.org. Okay.
Yeah. As usual, you guys keep sending us the questions, keep sending us the comments. Also, if you're on Facebook, we're on Facebook quite a lot, so you can find us on there as Welcome Home Podcast. We are on Twitter and Instagram as well as Welcome Home Pod and Welcome Home Pics, if you want to follow those. But really, those, like if we're on vacations and we're posting pics and stuff, you'll see those things pop up on those platforms. But really, we are on Facebook the most. So, yep. Follow us, share us on Facebook. That we love seeing that, and we love. It just makes me happy that you guys ping us when you do. I'll look at my phone and I'm having a day at work and I look and I'm like, oh, good. Somebody from Welcome Home Podcast, asked us a question. I love that.
Or just
stuff.
said hi.
Yeah.
Or just said, hey. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we like all that. Also, iTunes, obviously we want to have a higher star rating on iTunes, but, I feel that a lot of people don't use the reviews on iTunes. I don't know. I don't even have an iTunes account, so I can't speak to that. I'm an Android user, so
yeah.
Yeah.
But leave us a review, if you will, please. A good one would be nice. If you want to be mean to us, that's cool too. It's you do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, at least knowing why would be good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, if you hate that Trevor sounds like he's in a tunnel, or that I laugh at things, sure. Or that Damon's, arrogant or whatever. Please leave that on there. That's fine. But we appreciate any kind of feedback and also reviews and ratings and such. So.
Yeah.
All right. So. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify. Anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find us. There's lots of podcast apps out there, especially if you're an Android user. There's a lot of options there. So download those and find us by searching for Welcome Home Podcast. And of course, just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, Any and all opinions we express on this show are our own. So please contact a DVC representative, a cast member, if you have questions about any of the things we talked about today. We don't, always have all the answers here, so it's always good to confirm with Disney before, making any decisions on things. So join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
We do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.